All right. Hello, my YouTubers. I'm sitting here with the great and awesome one, Dennis Thomas. How you doing, Uncle Dennis?
I'm doing well.
Doing well. All right. I've come down from Arkansas to spend a little time with you, which I always enjoy doing. You know how much you mean to me, how much you meant to my upbringing. You were, like they always say, good kids are raised by a village
That's
of
right.
people and not just one. So you're now 76. You've been a Californian your whole life. And we share a lot of things, especially when it comes to family. A lot of great times, a lot of rough times. And so I'm just going to ask you a few questions about your life and growing up and your family. And as you can see, we got some pictures back there. Tell us a little bit about some of these pictures you got back here.
Just pictures of my family and
Okay.
memories that I get down and have to come look at once in a while.
Okay, kind of get your spirit up a little bit.
Right.
All right. So you were born. Tell us when you were born. What year were you born?
I was born in 1948.
Wow, 1948. Can you remember who the president was then?
No, I can't.
You can't? Well, I can't either. I'm not a history major. I'm an art teacher. So, where were you born at?
I was born in Alameda, California.
Alameda, California.
And
Okay.
I came to. We moved from Alameda when I was 2 weeks old to Early Mark, California.
Okay, and you say we, so you're referring to your mom and your dad,
Right.
grandma, grandpa Jesse, and
And Sue and Troy and Donald.
okay. So a lot of people in our family obviously know, but there's some people out there that are going to watch this don't know you're a twin,
Yes.
right? So you're not an identical twin, right? But you are a, what do they call that?
I'm better looking here.
Oh, you're better looking. Hey, hey, I totally agree. Right? So that's where our relation comes in. My father is your twin brother,
Right.
right? So, all right. So tell me what it was like as a young kid living in Early Mart, because Early Mart is not nowhere close to what it was 70 years ago.
No, Early Mark is just more or less like a village at that time. It just
No real
oh,
streets, no nothing.
It was probably, I'm going to say 500 people
Okay,
living there at the time,
okay,
and very quiet town. It was a mixed uh, type of a town. We had Mexican, white, Filipino, uh, Japanese was in there.
okay. So you went to school with a lot of different kids, right?
Right,
So as soon as you moved there, you were in, obviously you didn't go to school until you were 5,
right.
right? To kindergarten. So there was just one school at the time, right?
That's right.
There wasn't two schools like when I went there. There was a middle school.
Wasn't a middle school at that time.
Okay. So Early Mart was named after a grocery store
Yes.
way back in the late 1800s, maybe.
No, Early Mart was called Delilah
Delilah. Okay.
there, and they changed and called it Early Mart. And the reason they did that was it was a town where they brought all the fruit and vegetables in and loaded them on box cars to be shipped to Los Angeles.
Okay. Okay.
And so they got the name Early Mart for that.
Okay. Okay. So still pretty much the same thing. There's a lot of workers there that deal with farming. What are some of the product like farming, like grapes is huge, right? What are some other things
It's
they grow?
almost number one crop is grapes.
Grapes. They grow some other stuff, right?
Right.
Or
Almonds, pistachios.
okay, because I remember as a kid getting there was always plentiful in grapes. I've gotten to the point where I can't eat grapes
Oh, I
because
love
so
grapes.
many grapes that people would give grandma back in the 80s and
Yes.
stuff. So, all right. So, what do you remember most about being a kid and your environment, like going to school? And did you have close friends? Were you one that liked to roam town, hang out with your buddies?
Yes. We had there's about five of us that all stuck together, and if one of us done something, we all did it.
All right. So if one was in trouble, you were all in trouble, huh?
Right.
So what was your mom and dad like? Grandma Bessie and Grandpa Jesse. What were they like when you were a kid?
I had great parents. There, my parents. Uh, they're like any other parent, they had their rules and regulations, and
Okay. So did you have a curfew at a young age? Hey, get your ass home by a certain
by 10
time,
o'clock.
by 10 o'clock.
Yep.
And okay, so was Grandma and Grandpa? I don't remember them being the spanking type, but would they fire your little butt up if you didn't act right?
My dad would.
Okay, so Grandpa Jesse, he
Yeah.
put it on you, huh?
Yeah. Me and my twin brother didn't get along, and I'd always whoop the tail out of him, and then I'd get a whipping from my
Okay.
dad for that.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about Grandpa, your dad, my grandfather.
As far as I'm concerned, he is the most greatest person in the world. There,
And that's good.
he was a hard worker, and he made sure there was 3 meals on the table.
Okay, so what did he do for work?
He was a Caterpillar operator.
Okay, so he wasn't an actual caterpillar; he was an operator. Oh, right. You know, I had to throw a joke in there. So he was an operator. Okay, so how long did he do that? Was he putting in 12, 15-hour days?
Oh yeah, a lot of times.
Okay, so a lot of times you'd come home from school and the sun would be down and Dad come walking in.
Oh yeah.
And I remember him always being happy. He always was singing a song, so he was a happy person. And what was Grandma like?
Grandma kind of kept the house clean, and worked all the time. She worked in the fields there. She was a very hard worker.
Okay, and how was she as a like when it came to being strict with you guys? Was she
She was strict.
she was real strict?
Yes.
And if you had problems, she'd have Grandpa light you up.
Right. She
Okay.
made sure we got our chores done, and
Okay, so you have again your twin brother. You have an older brother, Troy. Tell us about Troy. What was it like? Because I know Troy ended up going to the army.
yes.
Right. What was it like when Troy was at the house? What was he like?
He ran around with a more wilder
Bunch of people.
bunch
Okay.
of people than I ever did.
Okay, so when you say wild, you're talking about like troublemakers, or are you
Yeah,
just talking
troublemakers.
out causing problems and
Yes.
stuff? Okay, so tell us what Sue was like, because my interpretation from Sue was she was more of like an extended mom, like she was
That's
looking.
what she was. She was older, and she was left at the house every day to watch me and my brother while my mother went to work.
So she was almost like an official, a ring official, watching you two go at it, huh?
Yes.
All right. So tell me a little bit about my father and your brother, Donald Sr. What was he like? What was it like being his brother at a young age? Deep breath. I noticed that deep breath coming.
He was quite different than I was. Difference is daylight and dark, actually.
Okay.
He thought everything he ever wanted he should just take,
Instead of earning it or asking for
instead
it.
of earning it or asking for it there.
Okay. So do you have any examples of just an example of what may have happened as kids?
Well, for instance, I had 2 different paper routes. I had a Tulare Advanced Register
Okay.
paper,
And how old were you at
also
this time?
Fresno B.
Sorry to interrupt you. How old were you at this time?
This was I was probably 15,
Okay, so we're talking about late 50s, early 60s. Okay.
and I took pneumonia, and couldn't deliver my paper, and my mother made Donald do it, and then Donald stole my receipt book and went out and collected the money for the papers.
So he went door to door,
Yeah.
got the money,
And spent it.
and spent your money.
Yes.
So what was the fallout from that?
So I had to pay for those papers.
And so did you go to Grandma and Grandpa?
Yes.
Did anybody light him up?
No.
Or so I'm guessing at a very young age, even Grandma and Grandpa kind of had idea like Donald's going to be different,
Right.
and we need to just try to keep a little peace. Okay, so the other siblings, you got along great
Yes.
with Sue. I know later in life you and Sue were real close.
Yes.
And I remember Troy a little bit. I know he has a son, Hoyt, and
Hoyt.
Marcella, who's
Marcella.
wonderful. You know, we love Marcella. Okay, so you're living in Early Mart. Do you remember? So the newspaper, was that your very first job?
Well, as the very first actually job that you know
That you got a paycheck
that
for?
I got a paycheck
Okay.
for. I worked. I always had money in my pocket because if there was something to do, I I used to I I I I'd buy watermelons from the guys hauling them in from the fields. Uh, I'd buy their culls and then take them out and sell them house to house
Okay.
and make money.
So that was your
Just
first hustle, right?
right.
Okay. So you
Just
would,
anything I could find to make
okay.
some money, I
Okay.
worked at.
You wanted money, so you'd have, if you
Yeah.
wanted something, you would have be able to get it and not have to
Right.
ask for it. Okay. So again, back to your brother. So he never really was one to work,
No.
right? He was probably one of those gimme kind of guys,
Yep.
which I ended up being. I want, right?
Yes.
But I think we can agree that I turned out to be nothing like my father.
No. Nothing.
Not even an inkling.
Period.
All right. So growing up, again, so we're in early Mart. Do you remember the first vehicle you ever bought?
Yes. I bought a '55 Ford.
55 Ford. So how did you obtain that 55 Ford? Off a friend, a lot?
No, off a lot,
Okay.
and I made payments on it.
Do you remember how much you paid for it?
I don't. It wasn't very much. I think it's about $500.
$500 might get you a pair of tires now.
Yeah.
Yep. So tell us about that car. What do you remember about it?
It was just an old, broken down car, and I I worked on it and fixed it up
Okay.
and paid it off, and then I bought me a '55 Chevy,
Okay.
and I drove it for a while and knocked a rod in it. It was knocking, and so I pulled the pan, pulled that piston up into the block, and put it back together, and drove it as a 5-cylinder.
Wow. Okay. Do you remember what gas would cost you back then? If you had to guess, what was a gallon of gas?
32 cents a gallon.
Whew, 32 cents, huh?
Yep.
Oh man. And is it like you see in the movies? Did they have the guy that would walk out in a little hat and he'd try to help service you, or was it same as now? You get out, pump your own gas.
Same as now.
Obviously, no credit cards. Everything was cash.
Right.
Cash was king, right?
Right.
Okay. So, all right. So, man, nice cars. Don't you wish you had those bad boys now?
Yes.
You could sell those, huh? All right. So, parents were great, right? You were your family was very family oriented, right? You took care of each other. Outsiders weren't allowed in. That's kind of how I try to teach my kids, right?
Right.
Family first. All right. So, what were your hobbies? So now you get to your teenage years, right? You're 15, 16, 17, whatever. Obviously, you start liking the girls, right?
Yes.
So your hobbies were still hanging out with your friends.
Right.
Tell us about your first girlfriend. Do you remember her?
My first girlfriend.
And remember, you can say anything you want on here.
Gosh, we're so far back.
Or the first one that you remember.
I had a girlfriend there in early March that we used to walk out into the country, out into the desert, out there, desert land we called it, and there was a tree out there, and we used to sit out there under that tree and make out.
Make out and talk and whatever else
Right.
you could, huh? All right, man. So you liked the girls young, right?
Oh, I did.
You knew you was in love with those beautiful women, right?
Yeah.
So okay, we talked a little bit about your brother. All right, so we talked about the paper delivery. So if you could pick one memory, either from childhood up before things get real and you have to get a real job, right? And you have to start focusing on family.
Mm-hmm.
What is one or two or 100? We're here. We got time. What are some memories that stick out in your mind that you will always cherish, whether it's family, friends, anything?
Well, I think of. I'm retired now, but I always think of my job there. I was kind of. I always thought of myself of being a extra nice supervisor,
Okay.
and then I went on to get the promotion of superintendent, and
So you're not just running crews at that point. You're running
no,
you're running
I
the people that run the crews.
I run the whole thing.
Yeah.
The tractor drivers, the irrigators, everybody.
Okay. So
There.
this is about when you meet Aunt Gail.
Yeah.
All right. So tell us about when you first met Aunt Gail, if you can remember.
Well, I was for some reason or another there. I already had a job, but I wanted a job as I applied for a job in a pizza parlor as a security officer on Friday and Saturday nights. There they served pizza and also had a live band and danced.
Okay, so security. So you were there to keep things in order.
Right.
Okay.
And Gail and a couple of her girlfriends came in there.
So
And
what
that's
year?
where I
What
met
year are we guessing? 70.
in the 70s sometime.
In this,
No, it'd be, let's see. Yeah, I'd say it was real close to 1970
Okay. Okay.
there.
All right. So continue. Sorry.
And uh, uh, we dated for, 5 or 6 months and then decided to get married.
So what was it about her that attracted you? Was it beauty? Was it just the way she carried herself?
Well, she was a nice looking girl,
Yeah.
and she uh, she carried herself very well,
Okay.
and
Classy. Okay.
yeah, and,
Well, that's good. All right.
and wasn't a wild type. She
Yep.
was quite a quiet type person.
Quiet type. So you and Gail get married, and she brings with her a son, right?
Yes,
And tell us about her son.
her son was
We're talking about Greg.
he was probably 3 or 4 months old when we met, and then we used to. I had an El Camino, and at that time, and we'd make a little bed for him down there in the floorboard.
Okay.
And he'd
Oh.
sleep while we went to the drive-in or went out anywhere.
Yep. So you go on the drive-in, and you was they don't have those around much anymore. Those drive-ins. There's one in Oklahoma where I live, and you just tune it into the radio, and you can kind of listen to it. So she brought with her a young child. So then you two, after being married, you have
Have
a young daughter,
a young daughter, and then a son.
a son. Tell us about your daughter and your son.
They're good kids. They all live.
So tell us your daughter's name.
Denise.
Denise. All right.
And Dennis.
Did you have any nicknames for them when they were little?
Greaser.
Greaser, huh?
That's what we call Denise because
Greaser, huh?
we were fortunate enough to build a new home under a nonprofit organization called Self Help
Okay.
there, and but you had to put so many hours in on building that home yourself, and
And it's another thing that's lost in time. You don't see
Right.
people doing that. You don't.
No.
That stuff's not offered anymore.
No.
Okay.
and my wife she was out there building the home when she was pregnant,
Wow. With Denise.
right?
Okay.
And they would not let her climb up on the roof and do any roofing because she was pregnant.
And she actually wanted to go on the roof and do some roofing.
Yeah,
Wow. Okay.
and so they had her down there on the floor on the ground picking up stuff that's fell off the roof.
Okay. Tiles and
Stuff.
nails, anything of that stuff. Okay.
And somebody dropped a hammer from the roof down and hit her on the head.
Ouch.
And when my daughter was born, there was a bruise right up on top of the head where my wife got hit.
Oh. Okay.
My daughter.
All right. So if you can remember, do you remember the day Denise was born? Or do you remember
Yeah, it was.
not the actual date, but do you remember that environment
Oh,
and
yes.
being at the hospital?
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, to start out, I was in bed, asleep, and my alarm clock went off to go to work, and woke me up. And about that time, I heard Gail say, "Oh," and I says, "Are you having pains?" She says, "Yeah, it's time to go to the hospital." And so we got into my pickup and started
Did you head into Tulare or Delano?
to Larry,
Okay.
and I was calling into the office there and to tell them that I wouldn't be at work.
Okay.
And
So did you know you were having a girl at the time or no?
no, I didn't know.
Okay. Okay.
At that time, they didn't have that the way
That technology, yeah.
yeah.
All right.
And uh, I got to the hospital in Tulare and got her got her checked in, and I was parked in the emergency part there. So I went out to move my pickup, and I parked the pickup real fast in the parking lot, went right straight back in there, and she had already had the baby.
Oh, so Denise slid right out, huh?
Yep.
All right. So did you already have it? So you realized you had a girl. Did you already have a name picked out? If it was,
Yes.
you knew it was going to be Denise, huh?
Denise.
Okay. So, yep, I remember. You have pictures of Denise when she was real little. She was real soft spoken,
Oh yeah.
right? Was she a daddy's girl?
She always was. Yeah.
Was she
Yeah.
hung on your hip?
Oh yeah. My wife worked for the school district, and so I and Denise stayed at my dad and mother's house, and I would go by and pick them up when I got off work, and I'd take the back road to Pixley where we lived, and she'd get on my lap, and she thought she was driving that pickup.
Yep, thought she was driving, huh? Another thing you just don't see parents doing with kids anymore because of all the law. So,
Yeah.
so you have a young, sweet little Denise. Then you find out Gail's pregnant again.
Yeah.
So what goes through your mind when you're thinking? You're thinking, I gotta have a boy.
Yeah.
Gotta have a
I
boy.
was wanting a boy there because all I wanted was two kids.
Yep. Okay.
So I wanted a girl and a boy.
So tell us about your son being born. Tell us about Dennis.
Dennis, without repeating the whole thing all over again, was identical.
Identical.
Just barely got him to the hospital, and she spit it right out.
Spit him right out, huh? So he came out blonde hair and blue eyes.
Yep.
Yep. He was a spitting image.
Yes.
So you named him. What's his full name?
Dennis Troy Thomas.
Okay, Dennis Troy. So the Troy's after your brother.
Uh-huh.
All right. So he's okay. So you have little Dennis. So as time goes, they're growing up. Do they get along pretty good?
Yes.
Okay. So
They always got along really well.
all right. So you live in a nice big white house, 2-story.
Yeah.
They each had their own room. I remember as a little guy in the mid '80s coming over and thinking, man, this is the greatest environment
Right.
because there was always food there. There was plenty of toys. I felt loved, and I know they felt loved, right? So
Yes.
they got along real well. So tell us how your household would handle your kids not getting along. How would you handle it, or how would Gail have handled Dennis and Denise going at it?
You know what we did? Well, we never whooped them. What we would do is take a corner of the house, and both of them there would have to cross their legs, sit down there, staring at each other for a half hour,
That's awesome.
and that hurt them worse than getting a whipping.
Than anything, right? Oh man. So Gail was teaching at the school. So would Gail bring her school style home a lot with her kids? Would you notice that she would?
No,
Oh, was she
I
able
don't
to
think
separate
she
that?
Yeah, bring it home.
Okay.
There.
So I remember the kids had a lot of bikes, right?
I remember. I don't know if I should tell this now or not,
Hey.
but
Tell it as it is.
I remember you being in one of her classes,
Mm-hmm.
and you couldn't remember to call her Mrs. Thomas. You'd call her Aunt Gail, and you get in trouble for it.
Yep. I can still remember the first day she took me and rolled me into class.
Yeah.
My head stood up about right here to the cabinet or to the counter, and I remember always feeling safe. So yeah, I do remember that. So time goes by, everything's going great, and then we'll jump into me being dropped off, right? So tell us a little bit about without me getting into it, how you guys viewed what was going on with me and my father, because it wasn't great, right?
Right. Well, start out to, my home's set probably a good 150 feet back from the main road, and this car drove up and stayed on the road there, and opened the door, and you got out with nothing but a diaper on, and
So I'm guessing I'm walking at the time.
yes,
Yes. Okay.
yes, you're probably you was 4 or 5 years old
Okay.
there, and uh, uh, come, they didn't even come and tell me, well, we're dropping him off here. Here he is. They just dropped you off and left.
And so it was probably my father
Yeah,
and one of his girlfriends.
and so
So I just walked my way. I'm guessing one of you came up and got me out of the yard. You know.
right, and so we put you in the car and took you to Tulare, got you some clothes, and then when it come time, we put you in school, and you stayed with us there for a while.
Yeah, I remember staying for a while, and Denise and Dennis took me in,
Mm-hmm.
and Aunt Gail was loving, and you were a working guy.
Yeah.
And one thing I remember, there was always ice cream
Yep.
readily available. And coming from where I was coming from, because my memory goes back pretty far, those kind of things just weren't readily available, right?
Right.
So I really enjoyed that. So I'm settled in one of many times, and I remember one day my father pulls up in his car.
Pulls up and
Tell us about that.
throwing a fit, and gonna take us to court if we didn't give you back. And so we let him. You know, he had rights. So,
Yeah, yeah,
So we let you go. We didn't want to
yeah.
there, but
Yep, and I remember that day. I remember looking out my back window as your house got smaller and smaller, crying.
mm-hmm.
And again, not to get into my story because it's not about me, but that was just one of many, right?
Right.
So, kids are growing up. They got playhouses. Everything's the life's good. You're making great money. What kind of money are you making in 1986, 1987?
I was making probably 5,000 a month.
That's pretty good money,
Yeah.
right? So you're probably making. That's probably what 60,000,
Yeah.
65,000. So your life changes. Your house catches on fire.
Our house caught on fire, burnt completely to the ground. There.
So how'd that fire start?
It started with lint behind the dryer.
So it piled up.
Yes.
The lint would pile up, and then it just sparked. Tell us about that day when your house caught on fire and your life changed. Because wouldn't you agree, your life changed probably forever from that moment.
Oh yeah.
So tell us about when the house caught.
We were behind the. I was outside with the kids, messing around, and Gail was taking a shower, and so all of a sudden I look up, and my neighbor from down the road was running down the road with a hose on the behind his back, and I couldn't figure out what's he doing, and
So you're not seeing no smoke or nothing at
no,
this time.
Then he started hollering, "Fire! Fire!" And I saw the other side of the house on fire, and that's the side that the bathroom was on, that she was taking.
Which was
a
the
shower.
back side. Yep.
Right. And so I ran in there and got her out of the bathtub, and got her with a robe on, and she got outside, and I was on the phone calling the fire department there, and by the time I got out of the got done, they put me on hold for, it seemed like for an hour, but it was only probably 3 or 4 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, they finally, I got done talking to the fire department. I said, I got to get out of this house. And
So you helped Aunt Gail. You helped Gail out. You said
Yeah.
she didn't end up naked or anything.
No, she got a robe and
Okay.
put it on there.
So did you have a sense that this house is done? There's no way this is getting stopped.
No,
So what was the first thing that went through your mind? Were you thinking, "Oh God, this is going to be expensive," or naturally you're thinking, "Make sure my family is away from harm"?
I was worried about the family.
Yeah. So you're worried about the family. So you get the family out.
We had already had fire drills, just in case.
Okay. So that's good.
Because mine and Gail's bedroom was downstairs, but the kids were all upstairs, and so we had drills where They could climb out the window, and how they could climb down and off the balcony. And
Well, I remember climbing wasn't an option. Us kids, we would jump off that dang thing.
Right.
Greg, I remember one day, Greg, they put a mattress down there, and Greg says, "Hey, go ahead and jump." Well, I jumped butt first and landed on my ass, which is a good thing that I didn't break it, right? So you had drills, so the kids knew. So everybody's out of the house now. So what's happening? Are you screaming,
we're
yelling?
just standing out in the front yard watching it burn, and watching the.
Do you remember any
firemen
reactions from the kids,
to
from
stop
Gail, from? I know Greg mentioned his posters because Greg, he was into heavy metal rock,
Yeah.
right? And I remember Dennis and Denise, or one of them sharing that Greg was like, "Oh God, all my posters," right?
My main memory was I had a guy come by and well, I was standing out there in the yard and says, "Do you have a mortgage on this house?" And I says, "Yes." And they said, "Well, probably the bank will call the mortgage in uh, when they find out the house is burnt." And that was on a holiday, so it was a 3-day holiday. So I had to wait 2 extra days to find out whether that was true or not.
Okay.
And I went into the bank, and of course it wasn't.
Yeah.
As long as I was making my payments, they were.
Okay.
They
Do you remember? So tell us who you were working for, and if you remember, do you remember what your monthly mortgage was back in 1987? Because I like to give a comparison compared to today's, right? That house, I remember that house is probably the one that burned down would still be valued at 600 grand.
Oh yeah.
It was huge. It was probably what, 5,000 square feet?
Yeah.
5,000 square feet, 4-bedroom, 2-story ranch style.
Right.
Beautiful house. How much land did you have on that?
Had 2 acres.
2 acres. Yep. So you did bees. You had horses. I remember the horse was Joker, right?
Yep.
You had horse. You had bees, and so you had a lot of land. So do you happen to remember kind of like you said you owed about 60,000 at the time, still when it burned down?
Had what now?
You still owed about 60,000
60,000
when it burned down. Okay. So the insurance took care of you,
Yes.
right? Do you remember the name of the company?
Allstate.
Allstate. Okay. Any Allstate people watch? Hey, you did well. So I'll have to. So that's taken care of. You guys lose everything.
Everything.
Everything is gone. Did
Everything.
you have people that helped out that
Even-
donated stuff? Did your job step in?
Oh yes. I was with
Texacal, I think.
well, Texacal. Yeah, was my job, but I was in a organization called Lions Club,
Okay, which is real popular.
and all the Lions clubs.
You can answer your phone. That's the good part about video. It may be another one of those non.
Hello.
Oh, it sounded like they hung up. You get those a lot, don't you, Uncle?
Yep. Sorry.
Hey, no, you don't have to apologize. So yes, everybody, Uncle Dennis does know how to use technology. He's a product of the 40s and 50s, but he's caught on, so that's good. So back to what you were talking about. You were talking about you were part of the Lions Club.
I was part of the Lions Club, and they Lions clubs from all over the county here donated money and stuff there, and helped out there.
Okay.
And then,
So who'd you guys stay with at the time?
my mother and father,
So grandma and grandpa, my grandma and grandpa. Okay, they're in Early Mart, right, in the
Yes.
trailer.
and they stayed and I got to add this too. 'Cause
Nope, go ahead.
my mother always, they lived in the same house for years and years there, and they always wanted a chain link fence around their yard there, and I was staying there, and Allstate says, well, we got to pay them something for
Taking you in. Wow.
letting us stay there while there's.
Oh,
while-
so you're
while
saying
the house-
you
while
want to
the-
pay mom and dad
Right.
for as a thank you.
Right, while the new home's being built. So I says, well, they can't accept any money because they're on Social Security and stuff, and he says is there something they've always wanted? And I says, my mother's always wanted a chain link fence around her yard. And 2 days later, they was a man from C&H Fencing.
Okay, so was Grandpa still alive at this time?
Yeah.
Okay, so Grandpa was still alive. So I'm sure he loved having you there.
Right.
I know
Oh, yeah.
Denise, he loved his grandkids.
He did.
They loved their grandkids. So that was good. It was almost like a vacation, family
Right.
time, right? So they get a new fence out of it,
Yeah.
right? And it wasn't the one with the wood top. It was the actual one that's still there with the slide doors, right?
Right.
All right, and it's actually still there
Yeah.
today, even though the trailer's gone. So your house burns down. Your parents take you guys in. Your new house is built. Tell us about what the new house was like, because it was beautiful.
It was a big 2-story.
So sorry to interrupt, Uncle.
House.
Sorry to interrupt. Tell us about your little buddy you got here with you.
This is my little partner in crime here. He does everything that I do.
I lost my glucometer and almost ended up.
Oh, see Uncle Dennis on TikTok. So tell us, keep going about your little buddy here. Hey, buddy, you're on camera.
And
What's his name?
Bubba.
Bubba. Okay, how long you had Bubba?
Oh, he's 2 years old.
Okay.
We've had him ever since he's born.
All right. So just want to introduce that young fella. So back to your house. A brand new house is built.
Yes, brand new homes built, and we were able to with Allstate, we were able to buy new furniture for it and everything. And
Okay, so you got there was no mortgage. The Allstate took care of you, right? You had no mortgage left.
Allstate was wonderful.
Okay.
They took care of everything.
And maybe they'll use this for a commercial one day, right? All right. So say thank you, Allstate.
Yeah.
Yep. So the house is built. So obviously dynamics change, right? The
Right.
environment's changed. What you're used to every day changes. You come home, that going through something like that, people don't realize it still sticks with you because you've lost a part of you.
Yeah.
So where do you start noticing? Because obviously you and Aunt Gail end up in a divorce.
Yeah, right.
So do you notice a change after the house starts to burn, after the house is burnt and you get a new house? You know, and you can go into any details you do or you don't want to go into, right?
Well, I just one day I came home and I thought everything was fine there, and I came. Hey, shut up!
Oh, he's good. Let him down. Let him go do his thing.
I
I can edit him out.
thought that everything was fine. I came up to work one day and she wasn't there, and she didn't never come back.
That was it, huh?
That was it.
So you there was nothing that was a buildup that you saw coming, right?
No.
Okay, so obviously I remember, and again, this is just from my view, dynamics drastically change with the kids, right? So the kids, Dennis and Denise, are used to a full home. Everything they need is met financially. Everything they need plus, right? There's extras that go into it. Dennis gets to come home with new toys. Denise gets to hang out with her friends and stuff. So how do you feel that it affected your kids, including Greg, your 3 kids? How do you feel? So she wants a divorce, and do you fight the divorce?
No.
Nope. You're like, hey, if you're done, then I guess that's it, right?
If you're done, you're done.
Right. So tell us about that experience and how you feel it affected your kids.
Well, I think it sent them on a world of change. There, my daughter got onto drugs, and Dennis was
He becomes a lone wolf. He becomes a lone cowboy, right?
right there, and it changed the whole world there.
Yeah, changed them, and through all that, you still loved them, no matter what,
Yes.
right?
Oh yes.
Yep.
I do today.
Yep. And so you get through divorce. You meet. You don't go much time. We know you like the ladies, Uncle.
Right.
You're a Thomas. You're a good-looking dude, right? So you're single for a while, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure the pain's still there.
Yeah.
Dear, that like your world's changed. Gail's gone. Your comfort's gone. So when you're still working every day, working hard, right? Paying bills.
Right.
And at this time, it's about the time I end up with Grandma,
Yes.
right? So you're spending a lot of time over there hanging out we're getting to know each other really for the first time, right?
Right.
We're living. I'm living there. You're living there at times, and I had no problems with it. I loved having you there.
And then all of a sudden there was Eva there.
Yep.
Eva,
So tell us about Eva.
Eva, it's not meeting her because I've known her ever since we was little kids. We lived on the same street as my mother and father did.
Okay.
And I knew Eva, and then we got married.
Got married. So I know you guys. You stayed at Grandma's for a while. Grandma put me up a cot in her room. We gave you guys. I say we, but I had a choice, right? We gave you the room. You guys seemed really happy. I remember Eva drove a school bus, a short bus, right?
Sure.
So I got to tell a story that you may or may not know. So I'm late for school one morning. Well, where I grew up in Early Mart, and it's still today, if you're on a short bus, you're getting made fun of, period.
Yeah, right.
You're called retarded, you're called dumb, whatever. Well, I'm late for school, and Grandma says, you better get your butt to school. And I said, well, I'm walking. She said, no, you ain't. Eva says, get on the bus. I said, Eva, Aunt Eva, please don't make me get on that bus, right?
Yep.
And I said, if you get me on that bus, you better drop me off on the backside of school. So what do you think Eva does? She drops me off right in front with all my friends. And I got called patted head, window licker, retard for years, right?
Yeah.
But I appreciated her because of her spirit. She was funny about it, right?
Yep.
And now, being in education, I wouldn't tolerate that, right? So you're married to Eva. You guys move out, get your own place, right?
Right.
And so tell us how your marriage went, the good times, and you can even go into, maybe when you saw a crack in the armor with Eva.
Well, Eva was a very good person. She is today. We still talk a lot
Okay.
there, but her kids. She was Hispanic,
Mm-hmm.
and her kids just didn't like white people.
They didn't take to whites. Okay.
Yeah, and so
So a little
we
reverse
didn't get
racism, huh?
along. Yeah.
Yeah. So I remember Rosemary.
So
She had a daughter. We won't talk too much about her, what I thought about her.
Yeah.
Looked like a bulldog. But hey,
Yeah.
right? She was gang affiliated.
Yeah.
And there were some real gangs in Early Mart,
Yes.
right? So as much as I say that, her boyfriend at the time, which I won't say no names, he may be or may not be alive, was a big time gangster, and he looked out for me
Yeah.
because of the family connection. So tell us about you and Eva living out in the country, because that's the only place you guys lived together, right? Was
Yeah.
the country.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell us a little bit how that was.
Well,
And her kids are in and out all the time, right?
Yeah.
Causing trouble, right?
yes, they were just in and out, causing trouble.
And you guys are trying to fight through this.
We were fighting over that, and I'm trying to hold down a job and
Deal with the stress of that.
I just couldn't deal with it no more, so we just got a divorce.
Got a divorce, said to heck with it, huh?
Yeah.
So was that divorce mutual or was it an ugly divorce?
Always mutual.
It was mutual?
Yeah.
Okay, so you gave that a shot. And again, I had a lot of respect for Eva. I still do. I would love nothing more than to see her, right? Because
Right.
I tried to close a lot of loops in my childhood.
Yeah.
And she was definitely there. So what are Grandma and Grandpa telling you now? What is? Are they giving you a hard time?
No, they're
Are,
not.
are they supportive?
They're kind of staying out of it.
They're staying out of it. So they're like, okay, my son's just went through a second divorce, right?
Yeah.
And I know you and Grandma are tight. So Grandpa's gone by now,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So we'll rewind a little bit to Grandpa. Tell us about, because you and Grandpa were tight, and I know. Tell us about your guys' relationship, and as a whole, and the day you lost your father. That
We were very close there. My father could get along with anybody. I mean, I used to at the end there, I used to bring guys in from the fields, and I'd drop them off there, and they'd do my dad's yard and stuff there, and you know, a lot of times I couldn't get back there to pick them up in 3 or 4 hours after leaving them, and they'd set my dad have them sitting out there under a shade tree, talking to them.
Okay, so Grandpa, what was his personality? He never seemed like a racist man.
No, he wasn't.
Well, tell us about how he was as an individual when it came to. We know how he was with family, right? How we know he worked his butt off, right? And I've done a lot of research into his parents. Tell us what he was like as a provider for his family, and later in his years with his grandkids and the people that he considered his friends.
He was 100%. He'd give his shirt off of his back for anybody,
No matter what background.
no matter what background. There, well, in early March, you couldn't be prejudiced. There's
Especially as a white person.
right,
It would, your life would be tough, yeah.
but he was just that type of person. There.
Do you remember any instances where you're like, wow, where your dad enforced that he was your hero? Because he was your hero, right?
Yes.
Is there any moment you can remember where you thought, wow, my dad is different. My dad is a great man? Or was it just the everyday way he carried himself?
Every day, the way he carried himself.
How did he treat grandma?
He treated grandma very well.
Yep, the I love yous were there. And even they argued. I remember games of rummy. They had these little bells on there, and
I was just gonna
if
say,
the argument got, tell us about the bells. They started arguing.
and
One of them would reach over
reach over and ring that bell.
and said, "Enough's enough."
That's
All right.
yep.
So they knew the code word even back then, right? And that's
Right.
what they try to share now. So they were very loving. Grandma was very loyal,
Yes.
and so Grandpa loved to sing, loved his tobacco.
Yes.
Little story about me: he loved his garden.
Yeah.
Well, one day, I decided to cut the head off one of his flower seeds. I was destructive. We can get into that later, right? No, and again, it goes back to I had no home training, right?
Yeah.
I cut the head off there, and he said, "Boy, you're about to get it." And I said, "You ain't gonna catch me, old man." And I ran around that house, and I came back around, and I stopped, and I looked at him, and I'm thinking it's playful, but he's not playing. And he says, "Boy, you got to go to sleep." And I thought, oh God, he's right. But Grandpa never put his hands on me, right? I think Grandpa had an understanding that his other son, your brother,
Yeah.
was not doing a very good job, and that I just needed to be cared for and loved, right? So he loved his garden. He was a big time gardener, right?
Yes.
So tell us about, and you tell us, do you have memories of spending time in the garden helping him flip the dirt, any of that kind of stuff?
You know, I was always too busy at work, but I had men working for me that I'd take in there, and especially after he got just before, maybe 2 or 3 years before he died of cancer. He got where he couldn't hardly handle a rototiller, and I'd have someone come in and rototill it.
So would you pay him, or would you just say, hey, you're still on the clock, but go take care of this?
Oh no, they're on the clock at Texaco. So
Okay.
so
Now, is this something you did with your big dog knowing, or you had enough authority where you're like, I'll do what the hell I want?
well, I had enough authority that I
Okay.
could do whatever I wanted.
And you said Grandpa would go out there and like give them water and let them rest, and
Yeah, he'd sit out there and talk to them all day. He
Okay.
didn't care whether they worked or not.
okay, so so we'll get to the more unfortunate time, right? We all lose the ones we love at some point.
Yes.
So do you know Grandpa's dying, or does it become? Is it like
Well, I knew,
So this is
after he got
19,
the cancer,
1987.
He was going to
1987, yeah.
die there, but at his funeral, Denise come up to me and asked me, says, "Dad, can we play a song at the funeral?" And I says, "I don't care, Denise. Go ahead." And she took her at the cemetery. She took her
Little radio.
little radio out there and played a song. Grandpa, it's by the name of Grandpa.
And that was the judge, right?
Yeah, the judge.
Tell us about the good old days, right?
Yep.
I remember it being played,
And,
right? There was a lot of tears that day.
A lot of tears.
A lot of people were hurting. Yep. Even people we didn't think would hurt. Like,
Right.
my dad was with a lady named Betty,
Yep.
and her kids he even took to them
Yes.
because they were kids, right? Alicia and David.
Right.
And David recently passed away. He was homeless. He passed away in Visalia in a tent. But Alicia actually named her son, her only son, after Grandpa.
Mm-hmm.
That's the kind of impact that man had on people. So that was a very tough day. I remember sitting at the very front. All of us kids sat up at the front. You guys made sure we were in the shade.
Right.
They played Daddy's Hands and Grandpa. And so were you there with him
Yes.
at the hospital? Who was all there with Grandpa at the hospital?
Oh, my brother Troy and Donald and
So everybody was there.
everybody
Sue,
was there.
he was the kind of man that everybody was going to rally regardless of what
Yes.
was going on.
Oh yes.
All right, and that's the kind of that's what I hope my kids do for me. I know it sounds selfish, but I don't want to. I want my family to know that I love them and I want them there with me, right?
Yep.
So Grandpa's now and he's gone,
Gone.
and I'm sure that's tough, right?
Yes.
So Grandma's by herself. Magically, 6 months later, Grandma ends up getting custody of me,
Right.
right? So I think me and Grandma needed each other, right? So what was your thoughts when you're like, okay, my nephew's about to live with my mom? Were you concerned? Were you like, she's too old? What's going on here?
No, I thought it was great. I really did. There, I thought, you know, it give my mother something to do, and also it would give Donnie a roof over his head, and
normalcy.
Normalcy, yes.
Something normal, right? Because I was coming from big time drugs,
Right.
women beating. So my dad's arrested in Waco, Wasco, one of the Waco, Texas, I think.
Yeah, at the border.
Yep. So Grandpa's gone. I'm living with Grandma.
Yeah.
So where are you at in life around this point? You've so we're gonna fast forward. You've married Eva. We're
Yeah.
back to Eva. So your
And
marriage
I've
dissolves with Eva.
Yeah, divorced her.
In largely part because it's hard to mix families. Did you know statistics show that if you mix a family, your odds of divorce are even higher than if you divorcing your like when you divorce Gail, you're really not mixing family
No.
because you had Greg at a young
Right.
age, right? And so each time you do that, your odds go. So Eva's out of the picture now.
Yep.
I'm living with Grandma. And you're a Thomas, all right? You're
I'm
loving the
back
ladies.
on the
You're back on
road
the
again.
you're back on the market, right?
Yep.
All right. So what is your life like being single at this time? Tell us how your average Friday night or Saturday night would go. You
Well-
worked at that time. You were working for the weekend, right? Like the '80s song
right.
said, right?
That was the only time.
So how old are you at this
I
time?
had
Late
time
30s,
to get out.
late 30s, early 40s.
Right.
All right. So tell us how a Friday night went. Did you if you had a date or if you were out looking for a date? Tell us how a Saturday night would go.
Well,
In
if I had,
1988,
you know,
1990.
if I had a date, it usually, you know, I'd go out to dinner, and then maybe go to a bar and dance a little bit or something.
Okay. And if things went really well,
And then go home with them.
things went really well, right?
Yeah.
You get you a little something, right?
Right.
So you're enjoying life, hey. And I remember you're in and out,
Yeah.
but you're always checking on Grandma.
Right.
You're always checking on me,
Right.
right? So Grandma breaks her hip,
Yep.
right? So about this time, Grandma falls, breaks her hip.
Yep.
Tell us about that.
Well, we didn't know what to do about you there, and then I moved in with you
Mm-hmm.
there, and
We had a couple of good little scrumbles there, didn't we,
Right.
Uncle? Yeah.
and
So you move in,
it
but
was-
but
yeah.
there's still space there, right? You're
Oh,
not
yes.
crushing down on me. You know
No.
Denise is going to help.
yeah.
You're single. Hey, you're out chasing the ladies. So there's some nights that I'm chilling by myself,
Right.
and I can tell you now on camera, there's nights I snuck off and would go stay at BJ's house.
Yeah.
Right? I knew right from wrong. I knew if I needed to get out of the situation at BJ's, but they always accepted me, right? So Grandma breaks her hip. She's in the hospital. Denise is helping out. You're helping out, and so Grandma makes it through, right? She stapled up. Her hip's good. Trying to think here. So Dennis and Denise at this time, from my recollection, there's a lot of influence on them from early Martin, bad and good, right?
Bad.
So Denise is not in the best situation, right? Dennis is more just like, hey, I'm gonna do my own thing. Like I said, he's a lone cowboy. He's got a good friend that lives in Pixley. He spends a lot of time with, but they both manage to still take care of Grandma, help her out, and keep an eye on me. I remember days where I would have to go to Dennis and say, hey, there's these guys that want to beat me up because I had a big mouth, right? And Dennis would step in
Yep.
and not let things happen, right? Because it was tough being a white boy there. So a few years go by, right, before you meet your next wife.
Right.
Who's your next wife? Tell us about her.
Marlene,
Marlene. All right, so tell us about Marlene.
the Dairy Queen.
The Dairy Queen.
And the
All right.
reason she got that name was her father owned a large dairy.
Right outside of Corcoran, right?
Yes, outside of Corcoran,
Okay.
and
So
we end up getting married.
So you marry into money,
Yes,
right? They're worth.
But that wasn't the reason I married.
Yeah, yeah, but
you know,
but it's different, right? Because again, me and you cross paths again, right?
yeah.
I'm in early March, so tell us how we cross paths and how I end up with you, and what happens at Grandma's house that makes Grandma have to move out. You remember the trailer? Somebody tried to burn the trailer down.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So tell us about that if you remember.
Well, not somebody.
One of Denise's little.
The legs on the that stands the hot water heater, kind of one of them broke and it tipped, and
Oh, okay. Because I was
hot
always
water
under the
heater.
impression somebody started the fire.
no.
Oh, okay. So I apologize then. Okay.
The hot water heater is what started it
Okay.
there, but they put it out and then it was up to me to negotiate with the insurance company there, and it worked out very well because he was giving me dates and then not showing up and stuff there, but he wouldn't show up to make a deal on what we was going to do about the insurance. And finally he showed up one day and he says I want to settle this today. I says, well, it's about time. He says, come on in here and let's sit down at the table. And you know, I come from years and years of negotiating with Cesar Chavez and the union on our job, and so I knew what negotiation was. So we sat down at that table and we came out with a good reasonable sum to rebuild that trailer, and also a good sum for Denise
Okay.
there, because I told him, I says with the fire department tromping in and out of here stuff, they've messed things up really well in this mobile home. I says my daughter had to clean the whole thing up, and he agreed then. He says we'll take care of your daughter there, and so when we went in there to sit down there, we started negotiating, and he come up with, I don't remember now what it was exactly, but he come up with a very, very good price of paying Denise for cleaning that trailer.
Okay. So that leads up to about the time when what makes Grandma make the decision to sell the trailer, and for us to move, because we end up moving, or I end up moving first.
Yeah.
While Grandma's still there. So what made the decision for me that, because on your guys' end, for me to move in with you? Because I was in 8th grade at the time.
Yeah.
And
I don't remember.
I think, just from my recollection, it was you had the means.
Yeah.
Right?
We had the means. Yeah.
And I was tired of Early Mart.
Yeah.
There was a lot going on. Some of Denise's shady friends were coming around. So Grandma was in fear of that. You had to chase a couple of them off. Yeah. Right? And I think, would you agree? I think Grandma was more concerned, hey, I want Donnie out of here, because either he's going to get caught up in it or he's going to become one of those, right? So I end up with you on the ranch. Yep. Now it gets interesting. Tell us about the ranch and me living with you on the ranch and how all that unfolded. With your marriage, her son, her daughter, and me in the picture, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I end up at Joaquina.
Joaquina.
You enroll me into Joaquina. Tell us about that.
And
everything starts out great.
You were living with us on the dairy, and we...
everybody accepted me, took me in.
Everybody accepted you, but her kids were complaining there. They didn't want you there.
And why didn't they want me there?
I don't know.
I know why. It's because when I got enrolled in school, I became instantly popular.
Yeah.
Well, a girl that I liked, I won't say no names, it starts with a T, he liked her. Well, he's liked her since kindergarten. Well, I let it be known that I liked her, and he wasn't having it. So Tell us. I remember you. Do you remember the night where things went really bad with me?
No, I don't.
Okay, so I mean, we don't have to get into it too
Yeah.
much, but started a big fight. I ended up
Yeah.
putting a hole in the wall,
Yeah, I
and
remember
I said,
that.
you know what? To hell with it. I don't need to be here. They don't want me here. I don't want to be here. So I go back to grandma's. Well, I'm about to roll back into Early Mart, which I don't want. We've already called the school. They're like, yep, he's welcome back. Well, a friend of mine in class named Derek, who lives in Corcoran, says, hey, you can come stay with us.
Yeah.
All right. So now grandma's living in Corcoran.
Yeah.
She got a nice little apartment. I moved back in with grandma. Tell us about that. You end up coming and taking care of us and watching
Right.
over us. All right. So you're in Corcoran now. Tell us about what it was like. Where were you working while you were in Corcoran? Can't remember where,
I'm trying to think.
because you weren't married. Or you're with Eva, so you're still on the ranch. Well, things went bad.
Yeah,
And I'm part to blame. Maybe you don't think I am, but
Yeah.
I feel like me and her kids not getting along didn't help.
Yeah.
Right. So that marriage dissolves. And is it an ugly divorce? Is it another, hey, let's just
No,
move?
let's just end it.
Right. Because we had some issues with JP.
Right.
Right. JP was a very hateful person.
Yeah.
Right. And if he ever watches it, I don't have no ill will. I'm sure you have no ill will.
No, I
right.
don't.
Since his mother's passed,
Yeah.
it was I guess she got stuck by a dirty needle on accident because of her job, and she lost her life, and that's very unfortunate. So we're living in Corcoran. Everything's going great. I'm in high school now. I'm playing football, playing sports. Where are you at in life here? Right? You meet. Tell us the next wife you meet in Corcoran. Marlene.
Oh,
Or,
Judy.
Judy, right? So you meet Judy, right?
right.
All right. So tell us about how you met Judy, Jew.
I was I had opened the door for some reason or another, and my dog, or was my mother's dog, ran out.
Freckles.
Yes, and ran right over to the there was a laundromat, post office like thing, sitting across the street over there.
And we lived in a big apartment complex. Yeah,
Yes.
that was real nice. Yeah.
and ran over there. Well, I went to get him, and that's where I met Judy.
Okay, so
there.
all of us are staying in the same complex.
Yeah.
You meet Judy, and my initial thoughts with Judy was she was wonderful,
Yeah.
right? And she learned real quick. Uncle Dennis don't like to spend money, right? So you and Judy spark off. You guys decide to get a place, right?
Yeah.
So another story I remember: me, Jennifer, everybody shows up to help you
Right.
move, and you say, "Hey, you kids help move."
I'll
What-
take you to Magic Mountain,
right to Magic Mountain, right? Well, us kids,
and that ended up to be a expensive trip.
yep.
But that's okay.
Yep. So you and Judy buy a place.
Yep.
Tell me about your and Judy's relationship, how it began, the good.
It was good.
Tell us about
Very
Judy
good.
as well, like what she did for her
Judy,
life.
Judy was a nurse. She went to work for the state prisons as a nurse over Corcoran State Prison.
Okay, where Manson was at the time.
Yes,
Yeah.
she was a surgical nurse. So they done all the surgeries on those prisoners over
Okay.
there and stuff, and things were good there.
Yep. And she had one daughter.
One
And
daughter.
you seem to get along okay with her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then that daughter committed suicide.
Yep. Yep. That's unfortunate. Yep.
And
I know that was tough on Judy.
yeah,
So you and Judy are doing great. You're living out on the ranch. You're living out in this little nice area. Well, once again, Donnie pops up in the picture. I end up in Riverdale, have to move. I'm disgruntled. I said, I'm getting out of here. So I leave Oregon, end up with you guys.
yeah,
Moved in with you. And that's about the time where I started my life
Yeah.
off. Right? So that's another moment in time where you had enough love and understanding to say, hey, come on, Donnie, you're good.
Right.
I think we got along
yes.
great. I never disrespected you. Right?
You're right.
Everything was great. So you and Judy are getting along. I know without going into details, Denise is still struggling with some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Dennis is still, I think he's off. Maybe he's moved away and he's working.
He'd already moved to Oklahoma.
Yeah, so he's working in Oklahoma.
Yeah,
Okay.
and working back there. Dennis, he come to me one day and he says, and he'd met this girl out here, and her mother lived in Oklahoma, and he says, Dad says, I want to move to Oklahoma and work back there, and he had never really held down a job where he got a paycheck. There he's 21 years old and
Still young.
Oh, he'd go to these apartments where elderly people lived and stuff, and he'd do yard cleaning and window washing and stuff like that there for them, and make cash money and stuff there. But that's about the length of it there. He lived with me, and it didn't cost him anything.
Yep. Okay.
And so he come to me and he says, Dad, I want to go to Oklahoma and stuff there. And I says, okay. I says, I don't know what you're going to do back there, but go ahead.
But you were proud and you were ready for him to venture off, huh?
Right. But deep in my mind, my mind was saying, yeah, you'll be back out here in 2 weeks.
And he wasn't.
And he wasn't. He got back there, and a few days after he got back there, he went right to work for a granary, working in that granary, and he stayed with it for a couple of years there until he started working in the oil fields.
Yeah. Okay.
And stayed with the oil fields until he got hurt.
Okay. So at this point in life, we'll fast forward a little bit. Let's see. I stayed with you guys. You and Judy stayed married for quite a while. You end up in Visalia.
16 years.
Yeah. That marriage dissolves. Denise and Dennis rekindle with their mom, with Gail, right?
Donnie, I got an appointment.
Oh, you
no,
do?
no, it's not that late yet. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. I love it. Your dog's like, what in the world? So we're just fast forwarding it, right? Because you've given us great words of growing up and how much your mom and dad meant to you, and you had battles just like anybody else, right? You worked hard. It cost you time with your family, with your marriage, right? So
well, I think my main thing was I loved my job, and I spent a lot of time on my job, and I think that's what hurt my marriage.
yeah, right. And we're Thomases. We're not easy to live with, right? We're set in our ways, right?
Yep.
And like I said, throughout the years, I've watched you and my dad, and I've watched what can work, what definitely doesn't work, right? And I ain't perfect,
Right.
and I'm sure Linda will tell you that. So we're fast forwarding in time, right? You've lost your sister.
Yep.
Aunt Sue's passed away.
Yep.
Since my father, your brother, passed away,
Yep.
right? He's living in Arkansas at the time. He passes away. Sue's living here close,
Yep.
so you're able to be with her. Grandma's passed away.
Right.
She passes away in 96.
96, and my older brothers passed away.
Yep. Troy passes away from pneumonia.
Yep.
Right. So grandma passes away. How do you handle grandma passing, and what was that process like? Her passing in Oregon.
It was good. I had a problem. I didn't want my mother buried in Oregon. I wanted her buried right next to my father, here
In Tipton.
in Tipton, and Sue gave me just a little, not real bad, a little flack over it,
But the headstone's already ready.
Yeah.
It already has grandma's name on it.
right.
Yeah, it's just blank, right?
There. So I called a funeral home and I says, what would it cost me to get her brought back here? And they want to know if I want her flown back here, or just go get her. And I says, which is cheapest? And they said, for us to go get her. And I says, get that truck going.
So it was a truck with like an ice box in it.
Yeah.
All right, so we're back. So we were talking about grandma passing and her getting brought to Tipton.
To Tipton, and we buried her at Tipton there, and I go see her about, well, before I retired, when I was working, I'd go about sometimes twice a week over there.
Yeah. So I know you two were pretty close, right? Tell us
Yeah.
about your relationship with Grandma through all the years, just in general.
Well, my mom, she was the type of a mother. If you wanted something, she'd try to do it. Like there, she just, all you had to do is ask her. You know, Mom, would you bake me a pie or pumpkin pie or coconut pie or something? And she'd jump up and go in there and do it right then.
I wore her out the last years. I want, right?
I want.
So tell us a little bit about how you viewed the dynamic with when we were all living with Grandma, real quick, like because I was tell a little bit about me, right? About when I was little, how you viewed everything as I'm growing up.
Donnie, you wasn't no trouble there. You got up every morning. You mentioned a while ago about my mom breaking her hip there and stuff. Well, I had to get up and go to work every day. You'd get up by yourself and get dressed and go to school every day there.
Yep.
And
I tried to be respectful to
Right.
her, right?
that was a lot of help there. Because even though after she got out of the hospital,
She wasn't the same.
she
Yeah.
had to go to your Aunt Sue's to
Yeah.
recover there.
Be taken care of. Yep.
Yeah.
So we'll fast forward to so Grandma's buried with her husband, right?
Yes.
And since Sue's passed, she's buried out there.
Yes.
My dad passed away. We buried him in an undisclosed area that we that we won't discuss, right?
Right.
Ooh, he wanted buried there, but I said I'm not gonna. I told him. He said, "Son, I want to be." I said, "I'm not tormenting our family with you out there," and he didn't think it was funny, right? But I think he knew. So all this years have gone by. You're now 76 years old.
Yes.
You've lived a full life, and you're still ticking. Tell us what your mindset is now, seeing all your friends and family gone. How do you view things, and how do you view your future in 5 years if you're still with us?
Well, I think it's sad that everybody's dead and gone there, but I enjoyed life there. I think I had a good job all my life, and I enjoyed my job, and I enjoyed my families there, and so I just go from day to day and try to do what's right.
Yep. So do you have any regrets? Do you have any major regrets that you wish you could do over?
I have no regrets.
Okay, that's good.
All my people that they were in the summertime. We worked over 1,000 people, and I don't think there's ever a person can tell you I ever said a bad word to them or anything.
Tried to do them dirty, yeah.
There, I talked to them reasonably, and I had an old saying. I tell them when that a lot of times they'd come up and say, "Well, can we do this job this way?" And I'd say, "Nope, you do it my way, and I'm the one that's got to face the big guy." And so
you demanded respect and you gave it back.
right, and if the job wasn't done right, and I had to face the big guy.
Yep. And you don't want to face the big guy, huh?
No.
The one that is your check. So
That's right.
okay, so no major regrets. That's good, right?
You're right.
Right. Things don't always work out perfect in life, but they work out the way they work out. Right.
That's the way they work.
And the main thing is you've never lost a child
No.
young. That's always a fear as a parent, right?
No.
You've lost how many of your wives, like you're Mormon, right? How many of your wives have you lost?
I've lost 3.
3, and you recently just lost.
Well, they wasn't wives.
Yeah. So you recently just lost your wife.
Yeah, she was a wife.
Tell us a little bit about her and what she was like.
Jen was a very good person. She worked all of her life as a dental assistant, and then After she retired from that, she went to work for the Portersville School District, and her job was just kind of watch the kids when they're out on playground and stuff there, and make sure they was right, and stayed in the side of the fence and everything.
Okay. So you guys get married. You end up here where we're at now.
Yeah.
So how long were you guys married?
We was married 3.5 years.
And then she tell us about how she ended up having to end up in a home.
She had she developed dementia, and
Dementia is it's a scary disease.
It's a scary disease, and
So-
there's no cure for it.
So she is she deteriorating slowly or just rapidly?
Rapidly.
Okay.
There, some of them do go slow, but she went real fast, and it turned into Alzheimer's, and she passed away after she was in the home for a little over a year.
So she passed away in her sleep, right?
Yeah.
So peacefully, right?
Yes.
And you've recently, just within the last week or so, buried her
Buried her.
and her family. So you honored her. So that's one thing, you're always honoring people. So again, long life,
Yeah.
a lot of friends, right? And that's good. No major regrets, right? Because all of us, most of us would have some. And you have a grandson now.
Yes.
Your only grandchild.
One grandchild.
Tell us about your grandson
He's 14 years old now,
and his name.
and his name's Barry, and I love him to death.
Nothing like being a grandparent, huh?
Right.
Yep.
Right.
All right. So tell us about Barry. Like, we have some pictures behind you. We can see Barry right there.
Yeah.
Is he a lot like his dad?
He's a lot like his dad. He's quiet, and I mean,
He's very well mannered.
right. He'll talk to you if you talk to him, but
He likes that technology,
right.
like all of us do. I'm 46 and I still like this technology, right?
Yep.
So
And it done you well.
yeah,
So
yeah. Sports was a big thing for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so Barry's, he's not far off from being on his own, right?
no.
So if you could give 1 or 2 or 1,000 words of encouragement to your grandson, what would you tell Barry moving forward in life to help make him successful as an individual, right?
I just say, Barry, this is.
Let's look at the camera. Barry's in the camera. Tell Barry what you would like to tell.
I just say, Barry, this is a cruel world, and make your choices the best you can, and stay honest with them.
And treat people well.
And
That's
treat
what
people
I would
well,
tell him.
Yes.
Because there's going to be people, right?
Yes.
People we think are our friends are actually our enemies,
Right.
right?
Right.
And I know you love him to death, right? And you got a couple things for him when you go, without saying too much, right?
Right.
And so you don't anticipate any more grandkids, I'm guessing.
No.
No.
No. I don't think there'll be any more.
So how old are your kids now, Denise and Dennis? Let's see if you can get that old brain to churn.
Dennis is 47, I think.
47 or 48, I think. He was born in 70.
It may be 48. Yeah.
He was born in 77, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yep. And Denise, how old is Denise?
Denise is let's see, 47. She may be 50.
Yeah. And then Greg, do you keep in touch with Greg or not really? Or do you keep in touch with Greg?
Well, I did, but I haven't heard from him in
Like the Facebook and Greg.
almost about a year.
Greg's in his 50s, right?
Yes.
He's done well for himself. He's
Yeah.
an expert plumber,
Yeah.
right? He owned his own business. He may still, I don't know.
Yeah.
I remember him. He was he was the epitome of 80s.
80s. Yeah.
He had the loud music, the rock and roll.
He was a good
Yes.
boy.
Yep. I remember he was a great
out of
football
trouble.
player. He was very athletic.
Yep.
I remember he could throw a football completely over the house, right? He scared the tar out of me. He saved my life once. I was choking on ice, and he saved me. So in finishing, again, thank you so much, Uncle Dennis, for letting me sit here with you. And long time, a lot of good years, right?
Okay.
How do you, when God takes you home, how do you want to be remembered to your friends and family? When they say, hey, you remember old Dennis? Yeah, Dennis Thomas down there in Porterville. How do you want to be remembered to your kids and your friends?
I think I just what people to remember me is I tried to be a good person and make my family a living and bring them up right.
Okay, so was them being proud of you? Was that ever a thing you wanted your kids to be proud
Yes.
of you?
Yes.
Yep. I think all fathers want that, right?
Right.
We want our kids to know that we did it for them, right?
Right.
And we're not perfect.
No.
We may have went a little stray here and there, but we love them, right? So
No.
you want to be remembered for doing what was right,
That's right.
right? So what are your thoughts on the afterlife? Heaven, hell? Yes, no?
I think there's a heaven, and I think that's where I'll go.
Okay.
There.
Yep. You go see, and you want to see your dad and
Right.
your mom and your
Yeah.
brothers and your sister. Yep. And I know you love your country music. Any country stars you want to say thank you for the honky tonk?
Yes.
Tell us some country stars that you admire.
Oh,
Growing up, you love your country.
Most
Sing us a country. Sing us your famous song you used to always sing us. Not Ring of Fire, but what was that one you used to love to sing? You used to sing Ring of Fire, and there was another one. When I grow up, I'm going to be a movie star. What was that one you used to?
How'd that go?
All right.
I forgot it now.
All right, well, sing us a country song you know, because that's the legacy I remember.
I know. They're gonna put me in the movies. They're gonna make a big star out of me. They're gonna make a movie about a man who's sad and lonely.
Yep.
And all I gotta do is act naturally.
There you go. Who sings that?
Buck Owens.
Buck Owens, right?
I knew Buck Owens personally.
Oh, you did? Tell us about that, about
Yeah.
Buck Owens.
I used to, when I first got out of high school, one of the first jobs I had out of high school was driving a potato truck, hauling potatoes from the field into the potato shed. And I got acquainted with Buck Owens as a kid. Before he got
So
started.
he was one of your heroes growing up.
Yeah.
You know, so you never got into the rock and roll, never got into the other music. You're a country guy through and through.
I'm country all the way.
Country all the way,
I've
right?
always liked it.
Do you listen to country today?
Yes.
Okay.
And I go to dances, and it's country and western dances.
So at 76, do you still have any desires to meet somebody, another lady, maybe have a friend, or are you content now?
I'd like to have a friend,
Yeah.
but
Marriage, maybe not so much.
no, I don't think I'll ever get married again. I think that's in the past. But
Yep. So all them women that you've loved and you've married, I know I sound like a damn country song. All them women, Gail, Eva, Marlene, all of them. Marlene's no longer with us.
No.
Is there anything you would say as a group or individually to those women? You don't have to. You could say, hey, I've said what I want to say. That's between me and them. Or is there anything you would like to say on camera?
I'd just like to say, if I hurt you, I really don't know what I've done, but I'm sorry.
And that's manning up right there, right? Because us Thomases, we don't get enough credit for speaking the truth, right?
Right.
So you never had no ill will, never meant to
No.
hurt nobody, and all right.
No.
So all right. So in closing, do you have any final statements? Anything you'd like to say to me or to anybody? Something I may have missed that was highly important in your life that you would like to share?
Well, the man on the other side of the camera there, Donald Thomas.
Don't get me all teared up.
I'd like to. I think he knows it anyway, but I'd like to tell him I love him like a son there, and I'll always love him.
And I hope I made you proud. And I hope
You did make me
I
proud.
hope I've served the Thomas name proud. I hope I proved that I was able to break my father's curse, because it was a curse.
That's right.
My father put a curse, and I hope that again, I love you, and I'll do whatever I can to help you. And I come out here and see you, and like it's again, right? It's you always supported me. You still owe me a Nintendo game, right, for cleaning your bathroom. But hey, we'll leave, like you said, leave that in the past, right? I'm kidding, right?
Yep.
So again, for me, there's gonna come a time when you're not here, right?
Right.
And that's gonna be a tough time for me, and I'm not gonna get emotional, but I know you're not scared to death,
No, I'm
right?
not.
I'm not
No,
scared to death, I think
Yeah.
we've had these talks. We're in bonus zone now. It's all bonus, right? I've seen Josh, Emma, Lily, and Paige grow up. 2 granddaughters. You've got your grandson. The rest is bonus.
When the good Lord's ready to take me, I'm ready to go.
Yep. And then we'll sing, I fell through burning ring of
Of
fire.
fire.
Burns, burns. But of course we don't want you in no fire when you pass, right? So your final resting place is with your mother and your father
At Tipton.
in Tipton with Sue.
Yep.
And I promise you I won't bring my dad back and dump him on top of you, right? So as the other side of the man on the camera, I want to finish with thank you, with you're one of my heroes. See, I'm gonna start crying. You showed me first of all compassion, right? Because we had a couple quarrels, right? When
Oh.
Grandma broke her hip, hey, get your ass up, boy.
Yep.
You don't backtalk me. I didn't know any different, right? So I've learned. I think I've been a very observant person, and I've used scenarios, right, in my marriage with Linda, and I've been through a divorce, and luckily, God willing, my kids never get in the situation, because I love Denise and Dennis to no end, right? And I know life was hard on Denise, right?
Oh yeah.
Real hard on her, but she's a warrior. She made it through. And your brother, I saw, obviously at a young age, I saw the conflict there because you're very protective of Grandma, and he was very disrespectful, very hateful. And Sue was a great woman. I know she has issues with her kids that we won't get into. And Troy was a good man,
Yeah.
wild man, wild. We're all a little wild in our ways, but you've done well.
Yeah.
I think your desire to be remembered is already settled in, and we've talked about it, and I've made promises to you where you'll end up, and I know you got about $14 million hiding away somewhere for me, all right, in a backyard somewhere. Yeah, right, huh? Well, I love you, Uncle, and we'll finish with a hug. I love you. I'm honored to be your nephew, and thank you for sitting with me. And I'm going to show this to everybody, and if I have your permission, we'll put this on Facebook, and I'll send it to your kids and let them watch it, all right?
Okay.
Sound good?
Okay.
All right, Uncle, I love you.